There are many ways to play tennis. Some players prefer winning through explosive, flashy shots, while others see success by letting their opponents make the mistakes. The bottom line is, there isn't one single correct style to play. There are, however, smart ways to decide your playstyle, which is why I'll be going over the pros and cons of each modern playstyle, plus a few that are seen less often. Aggressive baseliners are exactly what they sound like. They like dominating points from the baseline with clean and powerful ground strokes. They prefer ending points quickly through winners or forcing their opponents to make errors. The main pro of this playstyle is simply that the modern game revolves around it. Evidently, most of the ATP Top 10 uses some version of it. This is because of recent technology developments. Balls can be hit faster and safer with improved topspin. Topspin allows the ball to dip into the court, so hitting hard with today's rackets carries less risk of hitting out. The other upside to aggressive baselining is purely mental. Essentially, it's really fun. If you play like this, you're pretty much a walking highlight reel. This can translate to a heightened mental state during matches, and afterwards, you can expect to never be single again. The main con of aggressive baselining is when the rallies go on forever. If you're sending nukes on every shot, you're gonna become exhausted. When you get tired, you start making errors. And that's another thing. Even if you're not tired, maybe just having an off day, errors get in your head and you start making even more errors. This has a snowball effect in your opponent's favor. Additionally, this style is pretty one-dimensional. It's straight up just slugging the ball for the whole match, so if your opponent throws a slice or a drop shot and you're sensitive to rhythm changers, you might get thrown off. Now, in terms of longevity for aggressive baseliners, it's a con. Because you're going full cowling on most of your shots, your joints go through insane wear and tear. This also makes you more prone to injury. The damage done to your body by the style often leads to shorter careers. The name of the game for counterpunchers is defense. Unlike aggressive baseliners, counterpunchers will not intentionally try and end the point quickly. Instead, they will make their opponents play as many shots as it takes for them to make an error. The pros. Counterpunchers are very patient. As long as the opponent is still hitting solid shots, these players prefer to hit neutrally or defensively. As the opponent tires out during the point, they are likely to make errors, and that's when counterpunchers counterpunch. This style also has built-in rage bait. Instead of doing the damage yourself, counterpunching makes opponents blame themselves, since they're the ones making most of the errors. Also, the counterpunching style doesn't discriminate with respect to height, meaning like as long as you've worked your fitness level and can move well, anybody can play the style. I mean, you've got 6'6" Daniil Medvedev and also 5'7" Diego Schwartzman, both mainly counterpunchers. The reason I stress height, and this is kind of a harsh truth, is that for many shorter players, this is the style that you'll likely default to. Other styles have a more aggressive aspect to them, and being short just isn't as favorable. For example, at net, it's easier to lob shorter players. And on serve, taking initial control of the point is harder because height is a huge factor when serving. However, unless you're playing at the pro level, and of course there are also exceptions there, you can still be a threat no matter what height you are and what style you play. Finally, what some people fail to realize is that a counterpuncher's tactics are just as important as their speed. While aggressive baseliners' longevity fades because of body damage, counterpunchers naturally lose some of their speed by 30 due to old age. In their later years, many counterpunchers are able to reinvent themselves due to their strong tactics. Because of this, many counterpunchers have long careers. The cons. As I mentioned before, you have to be fit to counterpunch because movement is a huge part of this style. You have to outlast your opponent, so if you're a little unfit, training cardio will help you perform better. If for some reason you can't make it happen, you might be better suited to a different style. Even though a counterpuncher's movement is a huge strength, if you're too reliant on it, it could cause longevity problems. The other con is that this style doesn't have as much flair as the other ones. You won't be hitting many flashy shots, so your highlight reel will mostly consist of crazy saves on defense. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just watch Alex de Minaur. The all-court player is pretty self-explanatory, good at everything no matter where they are on the court. These players don't specifically play offensively or defensively, but instead, a mix of both. Whether they're at the net or deep behind the baseline, they'll never be outside of their comfort zones. The first thing that comes to mind when you think of an all-court player is their insane adaptability. If you don't think you have a weakness, playing an all-courter will help you find one. If they think that you're bad at net, they'll drop shot you to force you to come up. If you have a weak forehand, that's what they target. If you're Stefanos Tsitsipas, guess where the ball's going? Also, just like counterpunchers, all-court players have high tennis IQ, so they can adapt their style even when Father Time takes some of their abilities away. With virtually no weaknesses, the main con of all quarters is that they don't have many standout strengths other than their adaptability. So, against specialists, it might be a struggle. Against Isner on grass, cooked. Nadal on clay, fried. Tsitsipas on clay? Yeah, not anymore. You get the idea. The other thing about this style is that you have to have high tennis IQ, so if you're a dumbass, shit. Serve bots have great serves, plain and simple. The pros are, you have a good serve, and the cons are everything else. Just kidding, I'm exaggerating. A little.
No.
Like I said, the only pro of being a serve bot is your nearly unbreakable serve. On your service games, points rarely last more than 2 or 3 shots. Even though it's the only benefit of being a serve bot, it's a big one. It's a near guaranteed win on half of the games in a set. The only other thing that you might consider a benefit of being a serve bot is that you're hard to lob for reasons that will be explained shortly. And the cons? Boy. You're almost guaranteed to win your service games, but what about your opponent's service games? The many cons of this style spell out why losing these games is most probable. But first, let's make something clear. This style is the most exclusive style by far. What I mean is, not just anybody can play this style. You have to be tall. I'm talking like 6'4" being on the short end, so if you're not tall, don't even think about becoming a serve bot. Although being tall is a huge advantage for tennis in general, being serve bot level tall could also be a disadvantage. Because your limbs are so long, your joints need to exert more torque on them to be able to move. This means moving as a tall player is more tiring and also slower, and movement affects all aspects of your game. As a rally unfolds, your opponent moves you around the court, so as a serve bot, you need to do your best to keep the points short. I haven't even mentioned the serve return, where reactions and speed are key. The worst returners on tour have always been the serve bots. Also, I know I've been making fun of Tsitsipas's backhand a lot, but Lord have mercy, are serve bot backhands stereotypically bad. The 6'11 Riley Opelka pretty much gives the opponent a feed, and 6'8 Giovanni Impecci Pericard can't avoid shanking backhands to save his life. Lastly, watching serve bots play tennis is dead-ass brain rot. They win their service games, lose their opponents, and go to a tiebreaker. Super predictable and boring. Genuinely, the only serve bot I enjoy watching is Impecci Pericard because his ground strokes are either absolute nukes or he sends the ball out of the stadium. So, pretty much, your physical specs are your greatest weapon and your most crippling weakness. Even though height helps with the serve, it impacts every other aspect of your game in a negative way. In tennis, you need a complete game, not just one overpowered shot. This and the exclusivity of the serve bot style are why you rarely see any serve bots in the top 10. I decided not to include the serve and volley in the main playstyles because in today's game, it really isn't viable, which is why you don't see it on tour anymore. Basically, you serve and immediately rush the net, relying on a weak return from the opponent for an easy put away. So, why is this style dead? The courts. As racket technology improved, serve and volleying became overwhelmingly dominant. Rallies barely unfolded to the point where many fans complained that tennis was boring because of the short points. To combat this issue, the ATP decided to slow down the courts, which gave other styles a more even playing field. Players' return games also improved due to new racket technology, which made the volley part of the style even more difficult. The serve and volley archetype eventually died out. The pusher has one goal and one goal only: get the ball back. It doesn't matter how bad the shot is. As long as it lands in the court, it's a good ball. 99% of your points won will be from your opponent hitting into the net or out. Now I want to make something clear. Pushing is different from counterpunching, although both see success through opponents' mistakes. The difference is that counterpunchers can force their opponents to make errors. Pushers rely on unforced errors. Counterpunchers hit with pace, while pushers feed you easy balls. Counterpunchers have good technique, and pushers often, but not always, have the ugliest strokes you've ever seen. Perhaps the biggest difference is that counterpunchers can and will attack when the opportunity arises. Pushers couldn't hit a winner to save their lives. Now, if you thought counterpunchers were good at rage baiting, try playing a pusher. You have better technique than them, you hit harder, you've been playing longer, yet you're still losing to them. The problem is you keep making dumb errors because of the sheer quantity of shots the pusher makes you hit. Pushing is actually a very effective style from the beginner to early intermediate level because players haven't developed consistent, high-quality shots. At the higher levels, pushers are non-existent. Once players can properly aim their shots with consistency and power, pushers get smoked, especially if their opponent comes to the net. If you play like a pusher, I suggest you switch styles because this style has a very low ceiling for potential. Also, you're a piece of shit. Pushing will not help you develop proper technique. Also, you'll never learn how to attack, which is a huge part of tennis, and seeing how the game has been evolving recently, attacking is becoming even more important. You'll probably like counterpunching. So do I have any recommendations for what style you should choose? Yes, play any style you want. Chances are, you're a recreational player if you're watching this, so you can find success with any playstyle, but if you really have no idea, I do have some opinions. 1. Don't be a pusher. 2. Consider your strengths and weaknesses. Are you fast? Try counterpunching. Your volleys are cheeks? Avoid the all-court playstyle. 3. Take your physical abilities into account. For example, if your stamina is bad, try aggressive baselining. Ending points quickly works in your favor. If you're on the shorter side, definitely avoid serve botting. Aggressive baseliners also need strong serves, but it's less important. 4. Don't make my advice your new Bible. I don't know you. So, if you're 4'2" and nobody can return your serve, maybe serve botting is your best option. Or maybe you don't fit into any of the playstyles mentioned and have your own style. You know yourself better than anybody else, including me.